Three companies, three completely different fabric formulas, and only one of them is actually being honest with you about what heavy duty means. One of these three brands built its reputation on 12-ounce cotton duck canvas that a person could practically stand up on its own. Another built its core work pant around a fabric blend that is, by weight, mostly polyester. And the third, the one most people think of as a cowboy brand, not a work brand, has quietly been using the same reinforced stitching pattern trusted by oilfield crews for decades, at a price tag that undercuts the premium option by nearly $20 a pair. By the end of this, you'll know which one of these three actually earns the word workwear, and which one has been living on reputation alone since your father's generation. Let's start with the oldest company in this comparison, because history explains almost everything about why these three pants are built so differently today. Carhartt was founded in 1889 in Detroit, Michigan, by a man named Hamilton Carhartt, and the very first products the company made were bib overalls sewn for railroad workers. Men who spent their whole shift crouched, kneeling, and dragging themselves under train cars. That original customer base shaped the entire philosophy of the brand for the next 130-plus years. Build the fabric heavy enough that the work itself can't wear through it before the season does. Today, Carhartt's core work pants are still made primarily from cotton duck canvas, a tightly woven fabric that in many of their pants comes in around 12 ounces per square yard. For comparison, that's roughly the weight of a lightweight canvas tarp, not a dress shirt. The stitching on the stress points, the inseam, the crotch, the pocket corners, is typically triple needle, meaning 3 parallel rows of stitching instead of 1, which spreads the load across more thread and more fabric when the seam is pulled. What Carhartt genuinely does well is nearly impossible to argue with. The duck canvas resists abrasion in a way that thinner fabrics simply cannot, which is why you'll still see decades-old Carhartt pants being worn on job sites, softened by years of washing but structurally intact. The company also still manufactures a portion of its product line in the United States, at facilities in Kentucky and Tennessee, something it advertises directly, and something that matters to a buyer who has watched manufacturing leave this country piece by piece over the last 40 years. But here is the concept you need to understand before we go further, because it recontextualizes the entire comparison. Fabric weight and price are not automatically the same thing as value. A 12-ounce canvas pant is heavier, yes, and it is more abrasion-resistant, yes, but it is also stiffer, slower to break in, and in most Carhartt work pant lines, it runs somewhere between $54 and $70 per pair at full retail. The central problem with Carhartt isn't quality. It's that the brand has become so trusted that many buyers stop comparing altogether, paying a premium for a fabric spec that, in several of the company's more casual or relaxed fit lines, has actually been lightened in recent years to appeal to a broader retail customer, not the original tradesman customer the brand was built for. Now to Dickies, a company founded in 1922 in Fort Worth, Texas, originally under the name Williamson-Dickey Manufacturing Company. For most of the 20th century, Dickies built its identity around one specific product, the 874 Original Work Pant, a design that has barely changed since its introduction and became, without exaggeration, one of the most recognized silhouettes in American workwear. You'll recognize the straight leg, the flat front, and the two-tone stitching from mechanics' bays, warehouses, and school uniform catalogs alike. In 2017, Dickies was acquired by VF Corporation, the same parent company that has owned brands like the North Face and Timberland, folding a family-run Texas manufacturer into a large multinational apparel portfolio. Here is the fact most people never bother to check, and it's the one that should change how you look at this brand entirely. The classic Dickies 874 work pant is not made from heavy cotton canvas at all. It's constructed from a poly-cotton twill blend, typically around 65% polyester and 35% cotton, weighing in significantly lighter than Carhartt's duck canvas, closer to the weight of a dress uniform pant than a piece of heavy-duty trade gear. What that blend genuinely does well is worth acknowledging honestly. The polyester content makes the pants highly resistant to wrinkling, faster to dry after washing, and less prone to shrinking than pure cotton, which is exactly why Dickies became the default choice for auto shops, delivery services, and school dress codes, environments where a clean, sharp, low-maintenance appearance matters as much as durability. The educational concept here is the difference between a uniform pant and a trade pant. Dickies 874 was engineered to look presentable through repeated industrial laundering, not necessarily to survive years of kneeling on gravel or dragging against rebar. The central problem is that Dickies has marketed the 874 for decades under language that implies heavy-duty trade use, while multiple independent reviewers and long-term buyers have documented that the synthetic heavy fabric abrades and thins at friction points, the inner thigh, the knee, the seat, noticeably faster than the cotton duck canvas found in Carhartt's comparable line, especially under daily manual labor rather than retail or light industrial use. That brings us to Wrangler, and this is where the surprise in this comparison actually lives. Wrangler was founded in 1947 as a division of Bluebell Inc., and for most of its early history, the brand's identity was built around rodeo and ranch work. Wrangler jeans became the official denim of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, a partnership that still exists today. In 2019, Wrangler was spun off, along with Lee, into a separate publicly traded company called Kontoor Brands, after VF Corporation restructured its portfolio. On paper, Wrangler looks like the odd company out in this comparison, a denim and rodeo brand sitting next to two companies that built their names specifically on trade work. But Wrangler has operated a line for decades called Riggs Workwear, developed specifically for oil field, construction, and ranch labor, and this is the line that actually competes directly with Carhartt and Dickies on the job site, not the fashion denim most people associate with the Wrangler name. Riggs Workwear pants are typically built from a cotton ripstop fabric. Ripstop meaning the weave includes reinforcing threads at regular intervals specifically designed to stop a small tear from spreading into a larger one. Combined with bar-tacked stress points at the pockets and belt loops, a reinforcement method where a small, dense zigzag of stitching is applied directly over a seam that takes repeated strain. What Riggs genuinely does well is deliver a fabric weight and reinforcement pattern that sits much closer to Carhartt's heavy-duty engineering than to Dickies' lighter twill blend, while retailing, in most Riggs work pant styles, somewhere between $30 and $40 per pair, meaningfully less than Carhartt's core work pant pricing. The concept worth understanding here is cost per wear rather than sticker price alone. A pair of pants that costs less up front but lasts nearly as long as a pricier competitor delivers more value per dollar over its lifespan, even though the receipt at checkout looks smaller. The problem with Riggs, and it is a real one, is availability and consistency, because Wrangler sells this line alongside dozens of fashion and lifestyle denim products under the same brand name. It is far less prominently stocked at general retailers, and buyers have reported inconsistent sizing between the Riggs work line and Wrangler's standard denim sizing charts, meaning a buyer who assumes their usual Wrangler size will fit the same way in a Riggs pant is frequently wrong. Put the three side by side on the criteria that actually matter for a work pant, and the picture sharpens considerably. On fabric weight and abrasion resistance, Carhartt's duck canvas leads, with Riggs Workwear's ripstop cotton following closely behind, and Dickies' polycotton twill trailing both by a meaningful margin. On price, the order reverses almost exactly. Dickies is typically the least expensive of the three. Riggs Workwear sits just above it, and Carhartt commands the highest price of the group. On stitching reinforcement at stress points, Carhartt's triple needle construction and Riggs' bar-tacked stress points are comparable to each other, while Dickies relies on a lighter double needle stitch that multiple long-term users have documented failing sooner under repeated kneeling and bending. On wrinkle resistance and low maintenance appearance, Dickies leads clearly, which explains why it remains the standard choice for uniform programs where a clean look matters more than trade durability. On domestic manufacturing, Carhartt is the only one of the three that still produces a portion of its lineup in United States facilities, something the other two do not currently advertise for their core work pant lines. On overall cost per wear based on documented durability relative to price, Riggs Workwear comes out ahead of both competitors, delivering close to Carhartt's structural durability at a price point nearly $10 to $20 per pair lower. And that's the reveal. The clear winner in this comparison, on the specific measure that should matter most to anyone buying a work pant to actually work in, not to look sharp behind a counter, and not simply to spend the most money on the most trusted name, is Wrangler's Riggs Workwear line. It surprised us for the same reason it will probably surprise you. Wrangler spent 70 years building a public identity around rodeo culture and blue jeans, and that identity quietly buried one of the more seriously engineered trade pants on the market underneath a mountain of fashion denim marketing. Carhartt remains the heaviest, most abrasion-resistant option of the three, and it earns every dollar of its premium if fabric weight and brand permanence are what matter most to you. Dickies remains the right choice if your priority is a clean, wrinkle-resistant appearance across long shifts with lighter physical demands. But Riggs wins on the criterion that most buyers actually care about once they've worn through 2 or 3 pairs of pants over the years. How much genuine durability you get for every dollar spent. And on that measure, the Cowboy brand beat the 2 names everyone assumes are the real workwear experts. So here is the practical guide, broken down the way it should be, by what you actually do in these pants, rather than by what name is stitched on the label. Buy Carhartt if you work in conditions with heavy abrasion, concrete, gravel, sheet metal, anything that grinds against fabric all day. And you're willing to pay more upfront for a pant that will still be structurally sound long after a cheaper pair has thinned through at the knee. Buy Dickies if your work involves standing behind a counter, driving a delivery route, or any environment where you're on your feet for long shifts but not routinely kneeling, crawling, or dragging yourself across rough surfaces, and where looking pressed and clean matters as much as the pants surviving abuse. Buy Wrangler's Riggs Workwear line if you want the closest thing to Carhartt level durability without paying Carhartt level prices, and you're comfortable trying a pair on in person first, since sizing in this specific line does not always track with standard Wrangler denim sizing. What this comparison really exposes isn't that one of these 3 companies is dishonest. It's that decades of brand reputation can quietly stop matching the products sitting on the shelf. And the only way to catch that gap is to actually read the fabric content tag instead of trusting the name stitched above the back pocket. The next time you're standing in that aisle, deciding between 3 pairs of pants that all promise to survive a full day's work, do the one thing this comparison was built around. Turn the pants inside out, find the tag, and read what they're actually made of before you read what they cost.